Hello, hello everyone. So we are having a take a look at the Visual Studio Code for today. Uh, it's been launched by the latest event earlier in the last week, and the idea is to just produce to you with an editor which would give you support for GitHub, even compile your ASP.NET code. You could debug your Node code as well. So plenty of steps. Without ado, let's start with the walkthrough. So the first thing we're going to do is to download the code for Windows. You could download for Linux and Mac as well. Uh, that's the beauty of it, that it is launched by the latest event earlier in the last week. And so the approach is going to be that we are just clicking on the download. Let's see if I can start on this one sooner than later. And we click on download. For the demo purposes, I've already downloaded and installed it. So I'm downloading it for the Windows for you. So it's just simple click. As you can see, the file has already been downloaded. And since I've already installed it, let me launch the application. So there it is. I'm having a project open. Let's open some other project, or maybe just open another folder which has different projects. So if we can go back to somewhere, let's see. And let's create a new folder. And for say demo code is what we are going to do. So we've selected this folder. There's a live chat if anybody wants to have a questions almost immediately. And so let's see. Since we have this demo code folder, there's nothing in there. What you could do is that you could actually add a new file, and the new file type could be anything. So right now I'm just going to write console.log and saying hello world. And this is something that I'm going to write as a Node.js code. So I could say main.js, and this becomes my Node application. Now I can go to file and run. Simply just click, there is a run dialog box which appears. So let's see, toggle sidebar. You could actually toggle the sidebar, which is almost the same feature. You could also move the sidebar on the left or on the right hand side. There is a Git connectivity. So you can initialize a Git repository here itself. So let me initialize one. So there it creates a Git repository for you. And I could just say maybe my first commit. So this is my initial commit. And click on the arrow sign, and there it is. It has already saved your changes. There is a debugging feature. So now if you click on this, it will allow you to debug the features as well. And there you could select what kind of a configuration that you'd want. To configure this, you just need to click on the configure button. That just launches anything that you would want. By default, it's a Node.js configuration. You could change it to anything. All the IntelliSense is available here, so you could just click on, type on, and you could say node, mono, and whatever that you would want to do it. So without changing anything, let's go to the code again and maybe rename this file to, instead of a main.js, to app.js. So to do that, we could simply press F2, or we could reveal in the Explorer, and there we could also rename it to app.js. As you can see in the demo code, there is a settings launch.json that would actually help us debug, and there is this app.js. To see how the breakpoints or the command line would work, I could just press on a breakpoint as you would do it in the Visual Studio. So click on this, and go back to your debug mode, click on the launch. And that's all you need to do for it to start debugging. There's no pointing, there is no port connection, there is no extensions to be installed. And as you can see, this is already listening on a port 50545. So all the default settings have been done. I'm already hit a breakpoint, and you could see you are able to debug, looking through all the environment variables that could possibly be available, the globals as much as available, also walking through the source code of all the other application as well. Now you could look through the source code as well. I'm not going through all the demo purposes. The only thing is to actually present you through with how much of the debugging can be done. So looking at this, you would be able to write your code and then maybe able to debug this stuff. The next would be to, and everything else actually remains as good as any other editor. So you could search by characters, you could do values by text. So right now it's in debugging mode, so I'm going to just stop it for now. And let's see, take out the breakpoint. And first of all, let's toggle the sidebar first, or maybe move the sidebar. I'm basically a left side guy, so everything should be on the left. Let's see, what next? There is a split window, so you could actually have two editors side by side, and this is something that is there in, I think, Sublime as well. It's quite similar to Sublime. It's not as same as that, but it looks exactly. In terms of the colors and layouting, it looks kind of same. There's a status bar here which also tells you which branch that you are actually working on. What are you doing in terms of how many edits has been done. So if you do create new files, the Explorer is able to explain you a bit. So if I want to find something where I have written hello, I could just say search, and this prints you with the text as well. So it's much easier to find. You could do regex, you could do case sensitive and everything. There is an advanced option as well where you could search on a specific file. You could search include in a specific folder. So it's always relevant to this workspace that you're doing. So the folder that you have opened is the one where you actually do the changes. Git folders through settings, you can have exclude the folders which does not relate to your source code. So the Git node modules, bearers, etc. could definitely be taken off. Then you just collapse it out in terms of the output. You could just expand it as well. So all those is there. You can clear the search result, which is, it's a feature, kind of. Whatever changes that you have done, Git will also, there is a Git tab which will actually completely explain you how much you have done. So the launch JSON got added, the main JSON got deleted, and we added an app.js. We could now commit this thing just saying that new app.js added, something like this. Click on the check sign, and you have committed the changes. This is not yet going to the GitHub. You could, we would need to set up GitHub first and then be able to do this. So for that, there is a preferences, user settings, hopefully. And that's where you actually set up all your setting as a JSON item. The default GitHub account is already set up in the same sense. So you should be able to do that. If I'm not sure if I'm totally correct on that one, so I may expect if I do say something wrong, you could always stop me there. Other than that, go to file, go to symbol, go to line, all the other features are there. The only additional feature that I've seen so far is having to be able to debug out and then having a GitHub, a Git integration built in. Because it's built in, it makes much more sense to work from this sense. Otherwise, you keep on flipping between a desktop version of GitHub and also your editor. This is not the complete Visual Studio, so don't mistake it for you would be able to replace your Visual Studio with Visual Studio Code. It's just an editor which technically replaces your Sublime or maybe Notepad++. Even Sublime would have much more features than this. There's one feature particularly that I like about um, Visual Studio. Just hoping that the feature sooner or later would appear here, which is something like multi-selecting lines in between. So if I could click on an Alt button and then select a particular text, I should be able to select it, though this feature does not appear here. So it's kind of same thing. But I'm hoping that all those Visual Studio tips or the small items would sooner or later will appear here. They try to show you how many lines you have edited. So the focus is always get what sort of changes that you're doing, what sort of edits that you're getting. If those are in alignment with the Visual Studio thing, then possibly those will appear here. There are different types of file type that you could actually run. So there is a JSON, there is a batch file, I mean, all the other possible source code that you would actually write. Now, the good part starts for the fact that you could also edit an HTML5 code. You could also do ASP.NET. You could also do TypeScripts. So if you open, a TypeScript file, it will take a syntax highlighting in the same sense. It will also work for your ASP.NET debugging. Helping with the Roslyn compiler, it would be able to run it almost instantaneously. It doesn't really need to compile because it's a Roslyn compiler, and it technically runs on the source code itself and will help you in that sense. Would I replace this with my existing editors yet? Maybe no. The answer is no, because so unless it's a feature perfect, I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to do some bit of work on this and then see if this can actually make sense for me. Otherwise, it's not yet ready with all the tools and gadgets that we get with even Atom or with the Sublime Text. The other advantage or disadvantage, I would say, is that there is only there are only few themes that are available. So there is no Sublime default theme that is available in here. You could only choose a light theme. So you could say a completely white guy if you are, which technically blows my eyes. If you could also go to the dark theme, where it's almost as good as a dark theme of the Visual Studio as well. There's a high contrast theme as well, which simply changes everything into high contrast. So if you're having trouble looking at a finer lines, then this would be a very helpful thing. You could develop on the theme. I'm not sure if this is yet open source. If it is, then we will definitely put our items in the show notes referring to where the source code would be. You could request a feature. So if there is a feature that needs to be, you think that should be there, you could go to visualstudio.uservoice.com forum 293070 Visual Studio Code, and that should take you there. And that there has plenty of system. So people have been requesting plugin systems for this. There is a tab system so that they could have multiple files open, etc. At times they would want a Unity integration, which I'm not sure if that's something that Mac guys use. So integrated terminal and everything. So anything that you would want, you could always go to user voice site of the Visual Studio and then post your vote or even upvote something, and maybe post a new idea if you think that's something that is not there or you would want to see it. Coming back to the application of Visual Studio Code, I think I'll give it 3 star out of 5. 3 because of the effort, 3 because of the new fresh ideas of having GitHub inside. It's not that the Sublime cannot do that thing with the plugins, but it's good to have something that can start without having a plugin using GitHub. So there are no editor, at least with the Sublime, even with the Atom or any other editor that I could know of, that would actually have a Sublime or a GitHub support at the very beginning itself. If the plugin support comes along, there will be a number of features that could be added. There aren't many features that we can actually talk about apart from errors and warnings, maybe a dialog box that would appear here. You could go full screen, which is, yeah, you could go full screen. And how do I get out of it? No idea. So the F11 thing works. If you go by full screen and then press F11 again, you come back to that. Now, what else? The themes we have looked up. There is an output window, so git init. Yeah, this kind of looks like it's running through the command line. Yeah, so it's just putting you through the output window, kind of like what we have it in Visual Studio. So to close everything, you just close it. There are no tab concept. So let's go to our doc theme again. Go to the files, app. So this is the file that I have right now open, and let me create another file and give it a name, maybe demo.js. Now, to open files, I will always have to go through the Explorer. There is no this Explorer dialog box. Normally it looks like Explorer, so I call it Explorer. Once we have that, then you could just click on a particular file, but there is no tabbing concept. So technically, that's the feature people are asking for mostly. I would say this is just another editor, and that's why there is only 3 out of 5. Hopefully, they will improve on the features, and possibly this could become my or almost everybody else's who uses Sublime or Autumn could go back to using Visual Studio Code. Because it's cross-platform, it's available on Windows, Mac, and Linux as well, and so that you could use it everywhere. Then there is a feedback mechanism. Yes, with almost every other Visual Studio application that we have seen so far, there is also with the MS Office as well. You would see a small smiley at the very bottom or the very top, and you could click on this, and this would send you a happy or a sad, frowny smiley. I'm going to send it a frowny. I see no tabs. As a feedback, I mean, you could send an optional email address as well, so that if you would want to talk to them in terms of a detail, you could do that. I think that's all for the today. We have. I wanted to keep the session longer, but since there aren't many features that we could actually discuss out today, so let's keep it to this. We might come back with more features soon. Yes.